All right, what's up guys? Steven with Diamond Hands Detailing. Today we're going to be talking about one of these. This is a Downstream injector. I'm going to talk about how I run it in my setup, and hopefully this will break it down for anybody that's just getting into pressure washing. If you just bought a rig off Marketplace or something, you probably heard about downstreaming or different terms like soft washing versus pressure washing, how they're different. So downstreaming is essentially soft washing. You're applying chemical through your pressure washer with a low pressure tip that allows to draw chemical through this downstream injector. You're going to be spraying it on your surface at a roughly 1 to 2% mixture, depending on how strong your bleach is. We run 12.5, so we're getting about 1 to 2%, depending on what injector you're running. If you can see here, there's directional arrows on which way you're supposed to run the injector in line. They have a 2.3. The most common ones are like a 2.3, a 1.8, or a 2.1. And they usually have this broken down into what gallon a minute you're running. I'm running an 8 gallon a minute. You could get a 4 gallon a minute or a 5 gallon a minute. You can downstream with all of those setups. You would probably want to look into that a little more as far as what injector you should buy for your setup. We run 2.3 because we draw the least amount of chem. It gets the job done for us. And if we need any more, we usually yank out the 12 volt setup here and run a 3 or 4% on something stronger that we need. So the way that this works is, on my setup, I have an 8 GPM cat pump from Ameritech. The unloader valve, which is usually on the machine itself, is actually remote mounted over here. I have a K7 unloader valve. This is where we hook up our high pressure line and spray from, and this is also where we hook up our downstream injector. That outlet nozzle there is usually on the machine itself, so don't be confused because I have a remote mounted unloader valve. It's going to work the same with your downstream injector. You can either hook up the downstream injector directly, and then if you're done spraying chemicals, shut your machine off and take it out. What I like to use is this, like a jumper. You could just put a ball valve on here and shut the ball valve off and take it out of line if you need to. What you're going to do here with this jumper, it's 2 T fittings hooked up to a DN10 ball valve. You're going to put your injector in line here. So whenever you're spraying soap, you're going to shut the ball valve off. It'll redirect the water flow through here. You're going to be using a low pressure tip that'll allow the chemical to draw through the injector. And then whenever you're done applying chemical, you can open your ball valve back up, and it allows you to get your full flow rate through the ball valve as opposed to trying to run through that injector and rinse. Obviously 8 gallons a minute through that tiny hole is not going to flow as well as it will through this big hole on this DN10 ball valve. So the way this works is we're going to hook it directly up to our high pressure outlet, just like so. I have a tube here, 1/4 inch tube run through a PVC pipe. We're going to drop that into our chemical tank. It's just got a little filter on the end. Going to drop that in the chemical tank. I'm going to hook this tube up here to my injector. Now on these injectors like this, they have like a little plus and minus on the top here. You're going to want to make sure it's all the way to the plus so that you can get your full flow rate out of the injector. Now come over here to the gun. I'm going to show you how we do this. So you can either use a J-rod tip. This is called a J-rod. As you see, the holes on these are smaller than these. This fan tip or straight shooter pattern is going to be for rinsing. And then when you use these, it's going to have a higher flow rate. And that higher flow rate is what causes that vacuum effect that allows you to draw chemicals. So these are what we call the soap tips. You're going to want to use these when you're drawing soap and use these when you're rinsing. I use an M5 twist. This allows you to draw soap, and because I have that jumper when I shut it off, it goes straight through that ball valve and doesn't go through the bypass, so I won't draw soap even with that chemical injector hooked up. And this allows me to soap with an M5 twist or a sharpshooter, and then rinse with the M5 twist or sharpshooter. I don't even have to change the tips. That's the advantage of having that jumper set up. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how this works here. We're gonna hook up our pressure line to the injector, like so. I got just a 50-foot high pressure line I'm gonna show you for this video. At the end of this high pressure line here, I've got my ball valve so I can put my gun on. We're gonna go ahead and start this 8 GPM up. Now it's kind of loud, so if you can't hear me, I'm sorry. What I'm gonna have my cameraman do here is show you when the chemical draws through when I shut this ball valve off, so that you can get an idea of how simple this actually is. Just remember, we have this tube dropped in the chemical tank, and we're gonna draw with this M5 twist, and I'll show you how it turns on and off the soap while you're spraying, cam, or rinsing. So let me start this up real quick. Here I'm spraying straight water. There's no chemical running through this. Now watch this. I'm going to shut this ball valve off. There we go. Chemical's flowing through with the inside plate. Now when it's time to rinse, I'm going to come back over here, shut this off. No more chemical drawing through. Like that. I'm going to shut this off real quick. So this is the same principle for every pressure washer setup. The downstream injector is going to be in your pressure line. If it was before your pump, it would be called an upstream injector. And I don't know if I said it in this video yet, but we avoid that because we're running bleach. It'll corrode all the brass in your pump and ruin it. So you want to use something downstream on your pressure line, and then this jumper allows you to keep your machine running. You're not turning on and off. You can still use the same tips to apply chemical as you do rinse, and it's just as simple as that. And then once we're done, we literally just pop this hose off. We're gonna pop all our equipment off. I'll rinse this out a little bit. We usually flush that chemical injector out with some type of rinse agent if we're spraying bleach, and then that's it. And you can always exchange these. They're about 30 bucks on Amazon if it goes out, but it's simple as that, guys. You're just spraying bleach on a house and rinsing it off. It's not rocket science, and it really doesn't matter what flow rate you're running or how crazy your trailer is. They all pretty much serve the same purpose. So I hope this helps. If you just got in the game, if you have any questions, drop a comment. I can make a video if you have other questions about my setup. Thanks for watching, guys.